Mods. When I was in high school, I probably spent more time downloading mods for Skyrim than I spent actually playing the game itself. I became addicted to downloading endless mods, from little texture enhancers to massive gameplay changers. This habit extended into college, then past college, and now today I'm still as into modding as I was all those years ago when I first started. Of course, modding isn't just some obscure hobby for a small group of uber nerds. Modding's influence on gaming history has actually been immense in a way that most people aren't fully aware of. But what exactly is a mod for starters? In the simplest terms, a mod is an alteration by players or fans of a video game that changes one or more aspects of a video game. And whether you like them or not, many of the most popular games today have come from what were originally mods. Killing Floor 2 was an Unreal Tournament mod. Team Fortress 2 was a Quake mod. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Rust were both a mod for DayZ that was itself a mod for Arma 2. Counter-Strike came from Half-Life, and countless standalone games started as Half-Life 2 mods. Dota 2, meanwhile, somehow one of the best and most toxic games ever made at the same time, was a Warcraft 3 mod. And that's only the great mods that became standalone games that make a profit. There's so many incredible total conversion mods never released as commercial products, but which are just as impressive, if not more, than their standalone counterparts in scope. There's the obvious ones like Skywind and Skyblivion, and More Oblivion and Oblivion More, and Wind Sky and Daggerwind and More Rim and Arena Oblivion. And then you have the Lord of the Rings mod for Medieval Total War 2, or the amazing Game of Thrones mod for Crusader Kings 2, or the Anomaly mod for Stalker, or Banner Page for Mount and Blade, or... If I'm running out of breath a lot in this video, it's because the sheer scope of modding is, well, kind of breathtaking. It's amazing to me how much effort and time has been put into these countless mods by people who usually are asking for nothing in return. And the total conversion mods previously mentioned are only breaking the surface of things, really. You've also got your really minor add-ons or edits or fixes, your massive bug fixes, your graphical overhauls, gameplay overhauls, weapon packs, quest mods, companion mods, house mods, meme mods, your many body mods. Mods are sort of like fanfiction, but for video games. They can be silly or serious, they can stick closely to the original world and ethos of the game, or be completely out of place and lore breaking. They can be really, really good, sometimes paralleling the quality of the original, or they can be my Immortal tier.
Abracadabra! He yelled at Snape and Lupin, pointing his womb. I took my gun and shot Snape and Lupin a gazillion times, and they both started screaming, and the camera broke.
Regardless, mods are beautiful to me because they represent people who took time out of their lives to work, for free, to make something for us. And as someone who is well aware of the finite time we all have in this world, that means something. Of course, mods can in fact serve as great portfolio pieces for aspiring game designers. And it doesn't just help the people that make them either. Another great thing about mods is that if you're someone who's not super financially well off, mods can make your money go way farther. I know that playing a video game isn't like having a food or shelter or healthcare, all of which a lot of people still direly lack. But people who aren't financially well off still deserve to entertain themselves, and giving someone the ability to get a lot more bang for their buck, no matter what it might be, is still nothing to be scoffed at. Of course, I'd be lying if I said everyone was as big of a fan of modding as I am. One of the most common criticisms of mods is that they do the work that developers should have done themselves. But the reality is that it's often not the developer's fault that a game comes out lacking content or buggy, especially when most games have hard deadlines on them, and the people that work on them are often putting in 10 or 12 hours days daily. That isn't to say that certain companies haven't grown rather reliant on modders to fix their broken games, Bethesda. But for the most part, mods simply help to improve games that developers already put a ton of work into. But just for the sake of argument, let's say that it is true that modding might make the developers slack on their developing a game. Well, in that case, why not just download the mod that takes up their slack? Nowadays, downloading 95% of all mods takes at most 5 minutes and you're done. Back in my day, I had to install the files manually and do a whole bunch of other stupid bullshit to get my booby mods to work. Of course, it's perfectly fine to not personally be into modding for whatever reasons you might have. What actually is an issue is when developers or publishers don't support modding, or even actively fight against it. Nintendo is really maybe the biggest offender in this regard, but really other than Bethesda, most of the really big game publishers either ignore modding or outright try to prevent it. This is bullshit for a lot of reasons. Just from my own personal perspective, I'm far more likely to buy a game that I know is moddable because I know modders will be able to improve on it. And the sequels to games like Mount and Blade Warband and Fallout New Vegas, which have been modded to no end, turned out to be both huge financial successes. There's a decent chance that games like Skyrim would have a fraction of the relevance they do today if not for modding. But despite that, the sheer amount of mods that exist for the game won't change the fact that everyone and their grandma and their dog is going to buy Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out, no matter how bang-ass mediocre it actually is, because they and Bethesda both know that modders will make that game better too. Of course, for all the developers and publishers that are against modding, there's also plenty of developers that are actually great when it comes to supporting modding, like for games from Darkest Dungeon, to Hat in Time, to Prison Architect. Ultimately, the reason I love modding more than anything is because of what it represents. A community of people coming together to make something better than it was before. In the end, love them or not, mods are here to stay. Personally, I think it's really exciting to see how modding will continue to grow and evolve as an art form as the years go on. Who knows what mod out there right now might grow to become the next Dota 2 or Counter-Strike one day. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.